YouTube, it's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO reigning welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Terence Bud Crawford. 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8", with a 74-inch arm reach. He last fought November 20th against two-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who's a future Hall of Famer, and Showtime Sean Porter, in which Terence Crawford got a stoppage victory in the 10th round, dropping Sean Porter twice in the 10th round and getting a stoppage victory. With that said, everybody wants to know what's next with Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, he parted ways with his longtime promoter, as many people was anticipating seeing what happens with that, and legendary promoter, Top Rank CEO and promoter Bob Arum, and ESPN and Top Rank. And Terence Crawford is now becoming a free agent, who is a network promotional free agent. And Terence Crawford is now taking Bob Arum and Top Rank to court because he's citing that they mismanaged his career and didn't fulfill the obligations that they were set to fill. So with that said, Terence Crawford is citing wrongdoing, and he's seeking out $10 million. But in the meantime, Terence Crawford's team said that they're waiting for the highly anticipated rematch, undisputed rematch at junior middleweight between two-time world champion junior middleweight, now unified junior middleweight world champion superstar boxer Jermell Charlo, as he takes on undefeated Argentinian star boxer, who's the WBO junior middleweight world champion, and Brian Castano. That's set to take place March 19th. With that said, everybody's anticipating what's next after that. For Terence Crawford, he's looking to face the winner, as he's the WBO world champion at welterweight. So because he's the WBO champion at welterweight, Terence Crawford can put himself in position to be the mandatory challenger for Brian Castano and Jermell Charlo winner, okay? And it seems like that's what they're, according to his team, they're going to set their sights on the winner for that fight. What's interesting is, obviously, the biggest fight in the sport of boxing is Terence Crawford versus undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fight, the top three best pound-for-pound fight in the world, and Errol Spence Jr. Okay, Errol Spence Jr., 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 21 wins by way of knockout. Errol Spence, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach at 31 years of age. With that said, that makes for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, okay? And everybody wants to see that fight. But Terence Crawford's team, are saying, Errol Spence essentially is acting like a diva, not looking to make the fight happen, and so they're turning their attention elsewhere, okay, which is the junior middleweight division, or super welterweight, however you so choose to look at it, okay? Now, Terence Crawford was at the Canelo Alvarez Billy Joe Saunders fight, and he was having a conversation with two-time welterweight, two-division world champion, former WBC welterweight world champion, Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia. And Danny Garcia was expressing that he plans on moving up to, junior middleweight, super welterweight, and he's looking to, become a world champion up there. And Terence Crawford expressed that, he has similar ideas and similar passion to move up to junior middleweight, okay? Now, the problem is with Terence Crawford is now taking Top Rank to court. So, okay, if he moves up to junior middleweight, he can make himself the mandatory for Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano. That would be a great move. That will put Terence Crawford in position of negotiation power, when it comes to himself and a future showdown with Errol Spence. Errol Spence plans on to eventually move up to junior middleweight himself. And we know that Errol Spence and Jermell Charlo, they have a close relationship. They have, they train with the same trainer and well-renowned trainer of the year, Derek James. And they're both with the PBC Premier Boxing Champions. and they're both, they're friends. So with that said, it's a storyline there. But it's Terence Crawford making a mistake, sitting on the shelf, waiting for these fights at 34 years of age, okay? Because he's waiting to see, what Errol Spence does. They're waiting to see if Errol Spence actually calls them out after his anticipated showdown with Cuban star boxer, who's the WBA welterweight super champion, in Yordenis UGAS. Okay, Yordenis UGAS is 27 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. He's 12 wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, 5'9" with a 69-inch arm reach. Okay, that's looks like it's going to take place April 16th, possibly in Dallas, Texas. So Terence Crawford team saying they're waiting to call out, Errol Spence, or Errol Spence to call him out, and hopefully he gets the victory. And the plan is to go, into a fight with Errol Spence Jr., okay, if Errol Spence calls him out. So they're waiting to see if Errol Spence calls them out, okay? But Terence Crawford is playing the waiting game at 34 years of age. Now, Terence Crawford is a young 34 because Terence Crawford stays in the gym. He stays, in shape. Terence Crawford is never out of shape. He's actually in the gym now. He just put up a post that, people are asking him, why is he training in the gym so hard when he don't have a fight date? And he said that, the greats stayed in the gym, stayed ready so they don't have to get ready, right? Essentially, that's what he was saying, but he's playing the waiting game. Now, another big fight that Josh Taylor, undisputed junior welterweight, world champion, British superstar boxer Josh Taylor, he is seeking out a fight with Terence Crawford after his fight with Jack Cottrell. So Josh Taylor is looking to move up to welterweight from the junior welterweight division. He has a fight coming up February 26 against Jack Cottrell, who's undefeated, and his mandatory, he has to satisfy that because Jack Cottrell took step aside money and an agreement in his contract to allow, Josh Taylor to face off against Jose Ramirez in an undisputed showdown with guaranteeing the winner. So Josh Taylor could not just move up and not give Jack Cottrell opportunity to fight for undisputed, not vacate the belts. It was in the contract, so he has to honor that. But Josh Taylor is talking of a fight between himself and Terence Crawford, and he believes he's going to beat Terence Crawford. And he's a big guy at 5'10" with a 72-inch arm reach. Doesn't have many fights, but he's a very good fighter. And he's saying that that's the fight next. He's looking to make himself the mandatory for Terence Crawford. Because he's obviously he holds the WBO title because he's undisputed. So he holds all the titles at 140, and he's saying that he's going to now petition the WBO once he moves up to make himself the mandatory challenger for Terence Crawford. Okay. The problem is Josh Taylor fights with top-ranked ESPN and Bob Arum. And the problem is Josh Taylor, is with them, and Terence Crawford is taking them to court right now. So Terence Crawford is suing them. So Terence Crawford, essentially, in my opinion, he's limiting his pool of opponents and to make a case for himself and his legacy. Terence Crawford, he'll tell the world, anybody that listen, that he's already a Hall of Famer, which he is. He's a 4-division world champion. Okay, he's undisputed at junior welterweight, no, he's a 3-division world champion, 135, 140, 147, 3-division champion. And yes, there's an opportunity to make himself a 4-division champion, fighting Jermell Charlo, fighting Errol Spence would be solidify himself, and Josh Taylor is no walk in the park either. That's a very good fight, and it's a legacy fight for Terence Crawford. Josh Taylor is the 2 last undisputed junior welterweights go at it. That speaks volumes, okay? But the problem I have with Terence Crawford is he's playing the waiting game far too long. He's too passive, okay? The biggest fight in Terence Crawford's career thus far is his last fight with Showtime Sean Porter, and he put all his eggs in that basket with Top Rank And that's his biggest fight. Josh Taylor now 18 wins, no loss and no draws, 13 wins by way of knockout, 31 years of age, 5'10", with a 70-inch arm reach, okay? That's a great fight for Terence Crawford as well. Now, Terence Crawford, another fight I wanted to see Terence Crawford have was against former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman. Keith Thurman, 29 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 33 years of age, 5'7" with a 69-inch arm reach. Okay, Keith Thurman's making his ring return next Saturday after a 2-year hiatus after coming off of his first loss of his career against legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pacquiao, July of 2019. So Keith Thurman will be facing Mario Barrios, former WBA junior welterweight regular champion. Next Saturday, he's making his debut at welterweight. So that's a fight I would love to see Keith Thurman in. Terence Crawford in July, but Keith Thurman started to bank on the World Boxing Council, better known as the WBC, announcing that his fight with Mario Barrios is going to be a title eliminator, and that he feels like he could be the mandatory for Errol Spence and UGAS UGAS fight. But that's not true. The WBC said that it'll be a title eliminator, but they're not enforcing him to be the mandatory. Okay, so Terence Crawford is stalling himself out. Terence Crawford needs to be more aggressive. Terence Crawford being passive aggressive or just saying that these guys don't want to fight me, he's stalling out his own career. Okay, Terence Crawford is waiting for Errol Spence to call him out after his fight instead of being at the fight again. Okay, continue to pursue the fight with Errol Spence. It's your legacy that's on the line. Okay, if you're gonna wait for Jermell Charlo, if Errol Spence doesn't say your name and doesn't call you out, you're gonna move up to junior middleweight and make yourself the mandatory. You have to set a plan already in place. Terence Crawford is not setting a plan in place. He's playing everything by ear. Okay, he doesn't seem to have a plan. Okay, and he's stalling out his own career at the end of the day. That's what he's doing. He's stalling out his own career. And so with that said, Terence Crawford, is waiting for, he says he's waiting for Errol Spence and Jermell Charlo. Those are 2 fights he's waiting for. Now, we know Keith Thurman has stated that he would love a fight with Terence Crawford. And Keith Thurman, he stated that, and give him 8 months, which would be about July. Terence Crawford said he would love to set the fight with Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman, it was at one point in time his #1 objective to face off. He stated to be the man, you got to beat the man, and Keith Thurman was the man to beat. Well, now Terence Crawford needs to be a Keith Thurman fight with Mario Barrios. Push for the fight. Okay, Terence Crawford is stalling out his own career and he's doing himself a disservice. And before he know it, he's going to start. He's a timing fighter. He's ability to switch from southpaw to orthodox, but he relies on his reflexes and his timing. And Father Time is undefeated. He's going to get in the ring before you know it, and his reflexes are not going to be there. And he's going to stall out his own career. Okay, he had the biggest fight in his career against Sean Porter. The next fight is going to be the biggest fight of his career to upstage that fight. And if Terence Crawford come up short, well, people are going to start to say, yeah, well, Terence Crawford was good, but, as soon as he started to face top-notch opposition, he started to lose. So we need to see Terence Crawford in the ring. He needs to stop being passive-aggressive. He needs to be a Keith Thurman fight with Mario Barrios. It needs to be an Errol Spence fight with YORDENIS UGAS, and he needs to push for these fights, period. So let's see how this unfolds. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shouts out to the entire LDBC. Shouts out to New Media. Shouts out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share the videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Oh, it is your boy Jada Kiss. Make sure you check out Blue Blood Sports TV. It's going down.